Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. And as always, we want to invite anybody that's so inclined. If you're interested, check out our Patreon. Again, exclusives going up there each week. This was Lesson 13, Superhuman Potential, all about the pineal gland. And then we also had a Galactic Federation message. That was an interesting one as well. You know, there's a lot going on in this world, and here I see multiple sources talking about an 8.2 or an 8.3 earthquake, but looking at official sources, which again, we can't trust the official sources either, they're listing it as a 7.5 USGS and CSEM, as well as others. But anyway, you look at it, this was a big earthquake. This is a quake that's right down at the tip, as you can see, off the tip of South America. It's called Drake's Passage, after the famous explorer that decided to go along the coastline and found, wow, you can get around to the Pacific through this particular area. This is a very interesting area as well, as it does have what, when you look at the seafloor, it looks like there was a big impact here, and something probably came to rest right down there. It's a curious place too, just from the fact that it's so close to Antarctica. How big is Antarctica, really?
Really, how big?
It's pretty big. Yeah, it's pretty big. I think it's a lot bigger than what they say. Okay, this is Jim Ferguson. He says the UK Home Office orders mass fatality tents. Official contracts reveal the government's preparing for a major incident resulting in a large number of fatalities. Up to 700 bodies could be stored under the new emergency framework contract. Contracts include hard shell morgues and temporary refrigerated buildings deployable within days. So, yeah, what are they expecting? Seems that the government's preparing quietly for large-scale death events. They failed the nation with the plague upon the land planning, so they're moving early. What is it that they aren't telling us? Oh, I don't know. Does it have anything to do with perhaps, the food system that we see always having strange incidents and freak events? Like here, you have 6 people dead in a freak dairy accident in Colorado. Ooh, Colorado has a few unusual things going on at this point in time. So, this is from the New York Post. 6 people died in a freak dairy accident in Colorado on Thursday. Fire crews were called to rescue 6 people trapped in a confined space at Prospect Valley Dairy in Keensburg at 6 p.m. Crews responded and took appropriate precautions to enter the confined space to perform rescue operations. Unfortunately, district personnel recovered 6 deceased individuals from the space. The Weld County Coroner's Office said preliminary findings indicated the victims, who were all men, were exposed to deadly gas at the farm. That's curious. Well, when you look at this, there is a history of deaths due to hydrogen sulfide in the U.S. Breathing hydrogen sulfide at levels above 600 parts per million can cause death in just 1 or 2 breaths. It's released from the breakdown of manure pits. Manure in pits and other spaces. The most dangerous of these gases, hydrogen sulfide. At low levels, the gas gives off an odor of rotten eggs. We're familiar with that. Causes eye and throat irritation. Moderate levels, headache, nausea, dizziness. In higher concentrations, literally paralysis and death. When manure in the pit is agitated or pumped for use, levels of hydrogen sulfide can quickly rise from 5 parts per million to more than 500, a level that can lead to unconsciousness. Breathing hydrogen sulfide at levels above 600 can cause death in 1 or 2 breaths. This is very, very curious. Oh, by the way, that Gill guy again, that Gill guy, Gill Bates, he's at it again. $50 million Gates-backed venture into the food supply again. EPA is working with this. They're using, again, what we're talking about is, the building blocks of our programming, really. And this is what the technology that they're using, as you could see, the R period, N period, A period, taking it from a virus to change and modify and make the food more insect resistant, to give you, for instance here. And since they say this is something that naturally occurs, it doesn't have to be labeled GMO, again, organic in this world may never be truly organic. You have to know your food supply. We're blessed that at this point in time, most of our sources we know and know pretty well, and we've asked them, because again, we're buying from small farmers, ranchers, for the most part, trying to stick with that. And here you go. It's just more stuff that's happening to the food supply everywhere we look. And, it's called biologically modified. Yeah, biologically modified. Soybeans, corn, and tomatoes. We were low, and I did buy some bread, which I don't usually do, which wasn't organic. It did say non-GMO and looked all friendly. It was one loaf, and immediately I got stuffy in my nose, which I don't get allergies. Because when you have allergies, which I did suffer from when I was eating all the regular stuff that everybody, tends to eat, without really, looking deeply, I had miserable allergies in my 20s. And then, when I started to say, no, I'm only buying organic, and then even went past that to avoiding certain organic products because I know they're not, the allergies went totally away. They just disappeared. No allergies. Well, just a couple of slices of bread that I know were not organic. They did say non-GMO, and the allergies just immediately popped in. This is exactly what we're talking about. When I'm listening to people and they're doing a podcast and they're, obviously sounding like very congested and they're fighting things, and I see them grab a Coke and they're chugging a Coke. And, I did say to one guy that I follow, who's a guitarist, said, you really don't want to do that, and he got a little offended. But, this is what we get. This is what we get, because a lot of people, they just don't want to look deep at it because, they're having a hard enough time in life as it is with different challenges. Now we got Mutant Deer to go along with the zombie squirrels in Colorado again. Oh, this is horrible. These things are loaded with these pus-filled boils. And Cindy picked up immediately what this was. This came directly from the guides. And it involves the last article that we were talking about. In an indirect way, but directly, indirectly, we understand there's an awful lot of clouds in the sky, and there's different things that get introduced at different times that we have no clue of. These boils can be bigger than a golf ball, and it makes them feel lousy. Strange clusters of blisters on their flesh. So here you go. It's just really sad. Wildlife watchers have documented unsettling cases in New York, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Oh, okay. They're calling them deer warts. See, this is what they do. Oh, that's just deer warts. That's normal. Yeah, when did the term come in? And again, red sprites, those lights that come from the sky. Oh, those are just red sprites. Again, they'll put a term in when they know something is going to be coming out, and they need to make it look like it's just normal, that this has been around forever. This condition is caused by a virus that spreads between the deer, and the experts have warned of an outbreak this summer. It's often spread by disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes and ticks. They pass on the virus by transferring the blood of the infected to healthy ones. disease-carrying insects breed in warm weather, why there's more in the summer. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife said papillomas are most frequently seen during late summer and into fall, probably due to increased biting activity during this time of year. Deer are not the only mutated animals that have been startling Americans. Bunnies, squirrels, etc. It's very disconcerting, to say the least. These poor, innocent little creatures. And then the potential to spread, again, to humans. So scientists say these furry creatures are suffering from squirrel fibromatosis, a skin condition that's called by the leporepox virus. Wait a minute, leper, yeah. Wait a minute, that makes me think of this reminds me of something that our buddy was saying. Oh, let's look real quick, and because I was just watching him talking about this yesterday. Yeah, the world in 10 years. This is Christoph again, Christoph Jakowski. He was just talking about, he was scanning, he was looking at the world in 10 years here. And what was he seeing? One of the things that he saw was people with this miserable skin condition. It didn't seem like it killed them, but it made them absolutely miserable. And they're like lepers. That's what he kept saying. It's not leprosy, but they have this condition, and it's like they're like lepers. Can spread through direct contact, or by saliva, etc. We know how that works. It's not a good situation. Rabbits with tentacles. Well, again, he has been very accurate. Yes, not completely, because again, timelines are not set in stone. But again, he has a pretty impressive track record. Let's look at some nice nature here. Beekeeper forgot to put the frames in the beehive, and look at what they created. Oh, this is one of my favorite channels. Nature is amazing. Oh, by the way, this reminded me once of being out camping, and there was something that was breathing very heavy outside the tent, and you could tell how heavy that thing was. I didn't know if it was a big grizzly or if it was a Bigfoot. I wasn't sure, but man, it startled me in the middle of the night. Look at this guy looking out, and then what do you see? Ho, 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 ho. You see this big old bear just looking at you. He's just having his breakfast. Unexpected hitchhiker in the desert. Wow, that hitchhiker seems to know this person. In fact, seems to know how to ride along on a horse as well. You just never know who you're going to run into out in the desert. And when you look closely, you'll recognize that there are souls in these animals. There are souls. And in fact, they show the same emotions that we do. Somebody's a little grumpy there.
Isn't that cute? I mean, you can just totally see them talking through their pineal glands. They're just having this conversation, and they're not missing a beat. And here we humans are. We can actually speak, but so often we don't hear each other. We do not hear each other. And look at these guys. They're just going along like it's the most natural thing in the world, because it is, and it can be. You can't communicate to the animals like Dr. Doolittle. It's like somebody said yesterday in a comment when we were talking about magically charging objects, said something like, oh, you guys belong in the loony bin. And all I think is, well, it's just another sleepwalking zombie out there that just doesn't have a clue as to the reality that they're in. Yeah, this reality is a top-down reality. This was created for us. Yes, well, during the Kali Yuga, parts of it gets hijacked by this really dark system. But we're learning about the system. We're understanding, what's going on. And as long as we keep working on bringing our frequency higher,
we will escape the system. And you have nothing to worry about in the bigger scheme of things, because you're having a temporary experience as a human on Earth in the dawn of a new era. And, in reality, you already have eternal life, because the consciousness is that which just occupies the body. The body is a vehicle. This is basic Sanatana Dharma concept. This is also, this is not just, something that you'll find in the Eastern traditions. Again, this is something you find that's known to every single indigenous tribe across the world. They just knew how reality works. And then they were indoctrinated by the system. And the system has to convince you that you only live one life. And that if you don't follow the system's dogma, then you're going to go to eternal torment. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Again, we are creating our own reality every single day as we go. So let's lift it higher, guys.
Indeed.
As always, much love, source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.